Hi, Scorpio. So, how are you guys doing? We've got some big things coming up in October, like Jupiter moving into your sign. If you're curious about what Jupiter in your first house is like, check out the Libra video that's up now, the free one. And I would even suggest next month because it'll be their birthday reading, which will be extended, like as a gift. You should watch that one too because Jupiter's about to be in your first house, so any help that you can get in that arena will be great. It's a 12-year cycle, so if you're old enough, you can look back 12 years ago and really see what it was that you weren't ready to tackle. It could have been a relationship where you knew that you were in love and you knew it was the person, but you were just too young, or you didn't have enough of a career, or you didn't have any money, or maybe you were with somebody else. Something that kept you from being able to take control of the situation and get what you wanted, accomplish what you wanted. And now those situations are coming back around. Why? Because that's the Jupiter transit. So then once again, every 12 years, you get this kind of good luck, but good luck with this push to be bold and brave. First two cards, Knight of Pentacles and Seven of Pentacles. Okay, so the obvious stuff would be if you're dealing with an earth sign, the Knight of Pentacles has been popping up in all the readings, almost all of them. I think in one of the readings I actually rolled my eyes when it came up. But the earth signs are still being very persistent, and I think in the Virgo reading a water sign came up. So if you are one of those people who's cross-watching and you are an earth sign, you're definitely coming up here. As a Scorpio, this Knight of Pentacles and Seven of Pentacles is also all about you. Why are you coming up as a material sign? Because materially things are already taking off, but will continue to take off for a while now. It's just going to get better. So why come up as the Knight of Pentacles? Because you are just starting on that ascent. So not a page, but not quite a king yet. Okay? And then Seven of Pentacles. Coming into a time, when Jupiter is about to transit into your sign, it is this feeling of, like I said, things coming to fruition. Things that you weren't ready for, you get another shot at. Perhaps, let's put it this way, seeds you put in the ground a while ago with intention and with, just like something you really wanted, something that you felt on that, Scorpio level, where as soon as you thought of that career or met that person or, developed that friendship, you were like, boom, you had that, Scorpio moment where you're like, yep. And you put those intentions into the ground, you seeded that. And I think one of the ways in which Scorpio can be very, very good at manifesting is that they, as counterintuitive as this may sound, you have the ability to want something and then to put it away. You're really good at cutting those energetic strings, right? So that is the best way to manifest, is to want something and then kind of resolve yourself to whatever outcome you get. That is the best way to attract anything. Next card is the Strength card. So Leo season. Leo season is really big for you because you have some big things going on in the Leo placement. You have a solar eclipse, and Venus also meets Mars at the end of the month in Leo. Both of those things are really big for you. For you, Leo, that's the 10th house. That's your midheaven. That's your purpose. The way you, well, no, because people say, no, the North Node is the purpose. It's the way you need to move in the world to really feel like you are a part of it and that you are doing the best thing that you could be doing. And you do that through the lens of Leo. And that's where your solar eclipse is. So that's a big deal, right? Because you're ramping up your entire sense of meaning, and all this like supercharged energy is coming into that. And that makes sense, because when in October Jupiter transits into your sign, when we go into Scorpio season, there's going to be so much energy directed at you. There's going to be so much attention on you. There's going to be so much luck, money, love coming to you that you really are going to need to be really clear on what it is that you're doing. If you're in any way unclear, this time will be very dangerous, because you could easily, become self-destructive and lose a good thing. And, just, you want to use, so what I have written here, and we'll go into the map and we'll go into like pulling more cards in the extended, but what I have written here for the solar eclipse is new goals, because old strings have either been mended or cut. So let's backtrack a little. At the beginning of the month is the lunar eclipse. The lunar eclipse is in Aquarius. For you guys, what that really means is, so where is Aquarius for you? So Aquarius is in your 4th house. That's your, it's below, right? It's below the line on the chart. It's your deeper self. It's your karmic self. It's what you've been carrying around in the world with you. One of the things I've been thinking about a lot before doing this reading is this idea of having to know yourself fully before you can know another. So that's a very shamanic concept. If you want to go into shamanism, if you want to be a healer, it's really important to first look at oneself really, really, really deeply and completely know yourself, so you can then go on that journey with someone else and know them. I feel like Scorpios are naturally shamanic. I feel like your existence is one of being so connected that you do go through that shaman process without even knowing it. What I like to call spontaneous shamanizing. Graham Hancock calls it that as well. So he doesn't apply it to Scorpios, but the idea of having the right mix of genetics and the right filter that you came through at birth, and the right, vibe where you're tuned in, and that mix of things leads to kind of spontaneous, without you doing anything to produce it, this connection to, the other side. And so because Scorpios, I feel, generally understand this about themselves, they do go on that really, esoteric, deep journey of knowing themselves before they get into anything with a partner, before they get married, before they choose someone. Not necessarily because of what people think, which is usually, they think they're too good for everybody, but no, but because they understand that if they don't completely know themselves, they're not going to be able to love, you will not be able to love the way you really want to love. There's no point in doing it halfway. So if you want to do it halfway anyway, then just, go find someone else to do that with. But Scorpio doesn't want to do anything halfway. So they will go on that really, long internal journey to figure out who they are, so they can completely, then show that to another person and get really deep with them. So what's coming up on you in October is going to be another shot at being able to do that. Now, when you know that that's what you're getting another shot at, the most important thing is to leave behind the karmic baggage that no longer, is relevant to you, that you've already resolved, that you don't need anymore, that you're not learning lessons from anymore. And so although the past few readings have been irritating, you can see now what we're leading up to. Sure, for some of you it's pedantic, but I already did that. I already exercised all my demons. I don't have anything like that left. Okay, first of all, that's, not valid for anyone. Everyone has demons, no matter how much you've worked on yourself, right? So there's that. But also, for everyone else who is still catching up, right? The cutoff is October. So we've been moving towards that, but sure, at times you may have felt like I was dragging you down that road, and others of you may have felt like I was dragging you back on that road because you were already, halfway there. But it's kind of like, you don't leave anyone on a sinking ship. Like, we all got to go. And what we were going towards, what we've been working towards, is this coming into the, Jupiter's called the great benefic. So the one who brings you luck, the one who exaggerates all your luck, who exaggerates all your luck and all your aspirations, gives you that boost of like largeness, right? And so it will exaggerate anything within you. That's why it's so important to get so internal now. That's why it's important to cut karmic strings now. That's why it's important to honor this Leo energy with these solar eclipses now, because once Jupiter comes in and exaggerates, you won't be able to take it back. The best analogy I can give you, and forgive me if you're a guy watching this and you're like, oh my God, I don't get that. But the best analogy I can give you is, once you put highlighter on a certain spot, it's really hard to get it off and like mute that spot again. You exaggerate something when you put highlighter on it. You make something stand out, right? So what Jupiter comes in and it does, and it makes everything bigger. It exaggerates everything. It highlights everything. So if you put highlighter on a part of yourself that you feel is flawed or crooked or whatever, it's just going to make it look more flawed and more crooked. It's not the highlighter's fault. It's not Jupiter's fault. You're not using it right. So that's what we've been trying to avoid. Boom. Another great money card. Ace of Pentacles. Fantastic. Knight of Pentacles, Seven of Pentacles, Ace of Pentacles, and the Strength card so far. So fantastic major arcana, harkening back to this solar eclipse on the 21st. Ace of Pentacles. This has everything to do also with the solar eclipse, Ace of Pentacles, because again, this part of your chart that's being highlighted right now has to do with changing things up and kind of reassessing where your purpose and your money is going to be coming from, and getting straight with what you're comfortable with your money coming from. What do you, how does your money have to come in for you to feel good about it? You figure that out because money wants to come to you now, and it's just trying to find a channel in. So you make a channel in during this solar eclipse and the retrograde before it. When you have this retrograde in Mercury, that's on earlier in the month, like second week of August, you will find, this is odd, but I can personally attest to this as well. You will find that you feel things being feel old relationships waking up in you, things that you wished had gone better, things that you would like to have been able to, step up to, or yeah. And so this Mercury retrograde in Virgo kind of brings you, this is also the returning lover, someone who comes back. So in this case, it looks like it's you that goes back. Not that someone comes back to you, but you guys are so magnetic, you could probably play the person into coming back to you, even if it was you that wanted them back. Like, you just like energetically manipulate them. It's fine. It's fine. It's part of your charm. So, all about money. Money with purpose. Happiness tied to purpose. Success tied to happiness. All these, strings being tied together. No loose ends. Strolling into happiness. And then there's a really good chance that while you're immersed in all this work and making money and focus, that through some sort of a work excuse, that love will make its way into your life. Also something I can attest to. That I've heard from, people around me, like, oh yeah, I really wanted to like hang out with her again, and then we ended up working on something together, this sort of thing. Or like, I really liked that guy for a while, and then, you know, we got put on the same project or whatever. So work-related success and luck. Now let's take a look at these cards while I shuffle some more for some outcome cards. Obviously, this is a pretty like subdued, quiet reading, and it makes sense because most of the stuff happening with you guys this month has to do with stuff under the surface. And then the Five of Swords. So a card of deceit, a card of theft, a card of not being trusted, a card of someone treating you in a way where you are really upset and they are like smirking about it and not caring at all how you feel. If this is a Leo or an Earth sign and you've already put quite some work into the situation, Scorpio, I don't know. Let's see. And then Page of Pentacles, King of Swords. So it's like, you know what it feels like? It feels like a bunch of people that want to be around, but no one who's really down. Like a bunch of people who want to be around. Perhaps some of them seem like good opportunities, but like it just seems like nothing is clicking. I feel like there's something that you guys have in your head that's like, no, this is better. You know, like I want to invest. It's all about like you guys this month are all about like wanting to invest, wanting to work with money, love with money, spend out of love, this whole kind of thing. And then in the middle of it, you know, when you are, and it makes sense, when you are feeling like you're on top of the game and you are feeling really successful, that is when things get a little dicey, you know, in terms of your personal relationships, because that is when you start to see when this sort of energy comes into your life, which is, you know, a hand coming out of nowhere and offering you financial good luck and just, you know, monetary abundance, let's say material abundance. It is very common then for people to start exhibiting, you know, this sort of duplicity, right? I'm always bothered by this card because he's so happy with himself. You know, the expression on his face is like, he's so psyched that he's like making these people feel so bad. Like, look how bad that person feels. And he has like more than what he needs, and those people don't have any, and this person's obviously fought with them and then taken their stuff and done it all, gained advantage with mendacity, okay, and with, you know, theft. Really hurt people in the process and quite, you know, glib about it. It is weird that energy comes into your life when you're doing well, because it doesn't really fit, right? It doesn't really fit with all the stuff we talk about in the world of like energetics. Like in energetics, if you are feeling good and, you know, doing well, then you should be attracting more feeling good and more doing well. And yet Scorpio constantly runs into this like almost, you know, sickening feeling of, damn, now things are going to get difficult. Like when things start to go well for Scorpio, there is this like sinking feeling in the pit of the stomach, like, oh, now I'm going to have to start dealing with all these, you know, detractors and all these people. The way I would also define this when there's this much success involved is Al Pacino says to the guy from Coach, the guy who used to be on that show Coach, in The Devil's Advocate, he says, the guy's up for like a double homicide and he's trying to pick a lawyer, and he's like, I'll just go with some lawyer in New York. And Al Pacino says to him, you've got enemies that you haven't heard from. And that line, I don't think I understood it when the movie first came out, because I was like young and, you know, just didn't understand things the way I do now. And I didn't understand financial success the way I do now. And that character in that film the guy from, the guy played by the guy from Coach, is supposed to be a representation of Donald Trump. And so, they use the Trump apartment. They use, it's just to show that he's financially very, very wealthy, right? So the epitome of New York City wealth. And the way that he scares him into picking the lawyer he wants is to say, you've got enemies you haven't heard from. And so the reason I didn't get that is because it requires having a certain level of financial success before you understand what that means. And I think this month, if you haven't already, which I'm pretty sure you already understand, but this month that energy gets ramped up where you start doing better and better and better, and you start getting better and better prospects in your life, and perhaps someone that you really, really love. And right in the middle of all of that, are these detractors. And I'll tell you what, it even looks here like these are people in your own camp. And I know that's the worst thing to say to a Scorpio. And I know you guys are so paranoid about people lying to you and, not being loyal. But look at it. It's all your success and all your people. And then right in the middle of it, there's someone who's being really dishonest and undercover real happy about it. Low key real happy about it. I almost feel like this is someone within your crew of people who's sending you really, really negative energy and really jealous and envious of what you have and how much you have and how much is happening. Because the truth is, Scorpio, when you have this kind of energy coming into your life financially and it's success and almost a sort of prestige and fame in your community wise, then the envy, this kind of the detractors, the one who want to say that you didn't earn this or you don't deserve this or you're, whatever. I feel like a lot of that sentiment is coming from inside your circle of friends. I feel like you've got to take a better look at what's going on in your friendships. Because we've talked a lot about this lover and you love them and they hurt you and you hurt them and you should atone and they should atone. We've done all this. But this is a different kind of issue. This is a different kind of, rotting at the core kind of thing. And you got to be really careful when you start getting this much money in, because this money can only be held up by a very, this kind of success, which can equal wealth, can only be held up by a specific sort of emotional scaffolding, something that's very, very stable, where you know who you are, you know who your friends are, you have people you can rely on for really good advice, and they will not pander to you. They will not ingratiate themselves, to you and just tell you what you want to hear, because when you start to do well financially is when you really need people to be super honest with you. Now, you've got a couple of people in your life that will be honest with you, but I feel like what's wrong there is that their approach is just not, it doesn't get through to you. This is not the type of energy that you can approach a Scorpio with, whether you're the parent of the Scorpio or the mate or the boss, or it doesn't matter. If you try to give Scorpio any sort of communication from a place of this kind of authority and this kind of rigidity, you're just going to meet with someone who's completely tuning you out. So although this person is really intelligent and, obviously in your life, that's not working. Now there's this person. This person seems financially immature compared to where you are in your life, which, isn't fun when you've kind of leveled up and there's a lot of friends and people around you who now now begin to seem emotionally immature, financially irresponsible, and maybe just too young in their mindset for you, right? Because as you become more successful, we also mature. Because like Alan Watts says, with wealth comes lots and lots of more issues that you have to deal with. Being wealthy isn't necessarily the breeze that people think it is, because so many more okay, let's put it a different way, more money, more problems, right? So when you have the more money, then you start to notice the more problems. And in this case, where the more problems are coming in is from within the house. So you got to really look at your friends and the people around you, and, you know, honestly use that sixth sense you have to just suss out who's really low-key cheering when you fall. Who's the one laughing and snickering when you're not doing well and embarrassed or feeling, you know, who are those people who see all this success and pretend to want to be a part of it, and yet inside are taking from you, even if it's just energetically, by hoping that you fail, by hoping that this doesn't come to fruition. Right? It's important, again, to get rid of this energy, especially also if this is in relation to a partner. So the other way that this energy can play out is if you have been really super paranoid about your mate and somebody else, and them, you know, having some sort of, like, in your head, you've exaggerated this to, like, enormous proportions, right? I think it's a huge mistake and a huge distraction for you to do that right now. I think for you to be worried about romance when you have all this kinetic money energy and it's so obvious that you can do really well and you're getting all these opportunities and stuff, I think it's really self-destructive to give into the Scorpio, you know, fear of being betrayed and kind of start second guessing the people in your life and going, you know, is this person lying to me? Is this person lying to me? Is this person messing around with that person? What I would say to you is, okay, the Five of Swords is here. So obviously there is deception. First, I would say let's not rule out self-deception, because that is a really big part of also what you're going to have to deal with this month, right? You're going to have to deal with how happy you are. When Mercury goes into retrograde in Virgo, that's all about self-realization. How happy are you? How supportive is your friends network? You know, how loved and taken care of are you? This all starts to come to light. Where are you not being honest with yourself by keeping yourself in a career or a relationship that doesn't make you happy and isn't good for you anymore? So that's, you know, one way of looking at it, or another way of looking at it. What I'm saying, though, is irrespective of where this energy is coming from, it's super obvious that you need to get rid of it, right? Now, at the moment, Jupiter is in Libra. And I think you should use this air sign, Libra in an air sign energy, to push yourself in terms of career and staying focused on money. I think you should use the confidence of Jupiter in Libra to really do you. Think on yourself, work on yourself, buy for yourself, you know, spend on yourself. Don't dissipate your energy to anyone who doesn't truly deserve it and who you're not really sure of right now. Because what I see for you is that when love does come in, it's going to happen just like this Ace of Pentacles. It's just, you know, out of the blue, a hand coming out of the blue and going, here's love. So although you've done all the right things by planting the harvest and now waiting patiently to see what comes up, you know, this also referring to everything that's going on in your fourth house, right? That lunar eclipse, like having the stuff in the subconscious and now patiently waiting for the eclipse to come and kind of illuminate what's, you know, what was in there. This is all part of a much bigger move. Your self-realization has to happen before you can gain this level of material success, or else you will not use it wisely or, ethically. You've got to get all the way right. You got to not get stuck in the game. You got to not give in to these feelings, and you've got to not put up with this when you know that you see this in someone. See, another way this plays out here, this is the ex-lover coming back, someone with heavy earth placements, or you going back to them hoping that thing that was so long ago that it will, bear fruit. And even in that situation, you're going to have to make some hard choices of, do you forgive what happened between you and this person? Can you trust this person? Right? So we'll move over to the extended now, and the first thing that I want to pull cards for is going to be the Five of Swords and then these two. We're pretty clear on the rest of it, but these two, and then we'll do that fun bottom of the deck, and we'll look at the Scorpio notes. Okay, so Scorpio, I'm just putting my lighting back together here. Very work and money centered, and yet that luck and that drive leading to that, sparking that process of realization. All the placements being in houses of bringing stuff to fruition, inner security, inner, downloaded patterns, all of it being re-examined, ignited, bunch of energy being thrown at it. And Scorpio's super comfortable with that. Scorpio's like, yeah, I get, I'm way into that. Sure, let's do that. I love, delving deep into things. Why not delve deep into myself? You're not afraid of that. There's a lot of signs that can be, analytical and really observant and intelligent about other people. But if you ask them to be observant and insightful about themselves, they're at a complete loss. Or they're just terrified and can't even approach it. So the thing about Scorpios is that you not only can do it, you love to do it, you do it all the time. You don't have to be prompted by the stars to do it. You just love to know yourself better. So whereas other signs, including Virgo, will be, really feel like the wrenching of having to do the internal work. Scorpio's like, I live here. This is my house. I love this. Let's do it. I would love to know myself better. I would love to have even more light shining on this and even more, moon on this so we can find out and dig even deeper. Let's go. That's amazing. That's amazing. Clean house. Clean house and energetically continue to clean house. Even though you may be a little further up on that timeline or a little further back, let's all just keep working towards that October point. So when Jupiter comes into your sign, remember, exaggerating, highlighting. So if you go and look at the Libra video and you look through the comments, there are people who the Jupiter transit through Libra, they've said, I really thought that Jupiter coming into my sign was going to be a really good thing. But honestly, it's been one bad thing after another. And I'm so I feel, and the word that keeps coming up there is destroyed. I feel so destroyed. And we'll talk more about this, when Jupiter comes into your house, but it's when Jupiter comes into your sign, but it's really important to right now, start the process, because think about what they're saying. All these things fell apart. I thought it was going to be great, and then all these things fell apart. Well, why? Because like I said, Jupiter is going to exaggerate. It's going to highlight everything. So those Libras, they had things in their life that needed to be rooted out, that needed to go. I mean, Jupiter's going to make you let go of them too. It's just going to make you let go of them by making it bigger. That's not always what we want. You know, we don't want to get rid of an infestation by making it larger and then having to kill even more, pests or whatever. You want to minimize, you want to damage control, you want to know that you're about to get all this exaggerated energy, and so you want to pull back and erase and, redact where you need to, so when the exaggerating force comes in, everything that's being exaggerated is fairly positive and helpful to you. So you don't have that moment, a year from now where you're like, damn, I thought that was going to be great. It was great for a few weeks and then everything just started to fall apart, because what's it going to exaggerate if you don't take care of these karmic lessons? It's going to exaggerate whoever that person is who's pulling on you energetically, not giving you what you want and still taking from you. It's going to exaggerate the part of you where you've got people around you who really need to be told the truth about what they're doing and what you see happening in their life, but you're not saying it. And then all of a sudden, Jupiter's going to come into your sign and everyone around you is going to start to kind of, unravel. And you're like, oh my God, what is this? Because whatever they're not dealing with because of their proximity to you will be exaggerated. So you have obligations here also to the people around you, to the people you love, to really take heed in what gets highlighted. This is the ruthlessly intensive internal work now that needs to be done so that exaggeration is to our liking, so we can direct that exaggeration the way we want it to go for our best benefit, for our love, for money, for family, for, prestige, whatever it is that you really want, for purpose, for meaning, whatever you really want, this is the first step there. Go super, 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 the bottom of the chart. Go super underneath all the things that you love to do because you want to know. Get to really, really know. Where was I 12 years ago? Where am I now? Because you're going to have this conversation. So start having it now, right? So when in a little bit, the universe starts having this conversation with you and says, well, where were you, 12 years ago? You can be like, well, you know what? I was here. I was doing this and I've been thinking about it. I want to kind of go back to that. But you know what? That thing, I'm not down with that anymore. Come to that conversation prepared. That's what tarot and astrology is about. It's about you've got these meetings and you've got to come to the table prepared. One of my favorite quotes about astrology is by Rockefeller. I think it's Rockefeller, who said, millionaires don't believe in astrology, billionaires do. If you know that certain times of year you have certain types of energy that are good for certain types of ventures and you don't use it, you're not hurting anybody but yourself. Like if you want to run around lost and not use your navigation, you're not hurting anybody else. You're just not getting where you're supposed to be going. You're not annoying anyone else. No one's going to pull you over and go, excuse me, you're just driving around all the time, and you're not getting anywhere. They just see you driving. They're like, oh, well, he must know, she must know where she's going, But if you have this thing at your disposal and you just don't turn it on and you don't want to use it, is it that thing's fault or anybody else's fault that you can't get anywhere? No, of course not. So in that way, what's your navigation telling you for August? It's telling you that your destination is a few months away and this is the road, that we get there. And that road, your navigation is telling you that road for you, especially this month, is to root out this energy amidst all, the joy, amidst all the celebration, amidst all the luck and money and everything. Where is this energy in your life, in yourself, in your friends, get rid of it. Get rid of connections that, you think of when this card comes up. Get rid of people who you keep making excuses for that they're better than they really are when you know inside that they're like this. It's okay. It's all right. You guys yell at me all the time. And I'm not even yelling. So, all right. So that is August. And I'm really excited for you. And don't worry. Next month and, the month after, we will definitely go into the transit more and what you can do more and what it means and how you should really utilize the energy once we're into it. So, you know, not to be overwhelmed, you know, I'm sure you're not, but this is all kind of tailor-made for you before your season. So, and it always is, you know. So, that's it. Now, as far as extended readings and booking for a reading and all of that. Booking a reading, scheduling and seeing when I'm available, picking your own dates and times, all of that is now available through my website, which is ambercon.com. It will be in the information below. The link to the extended reading will also be in the description box below, but not for a little bit because I have to do it. Also, if you cannot access the extended reading, please go on the extended reading and comment your country and we will hook you up. If you still can't access it for some reason, please go to the website and comment and leave us an email and we'll hook you up. I am doing readings in New York for all of August and September, and I am in San Francisco for October. I'm in LA for the first week of November. If any of those places and those dates suit you and you would like to get a reading, please let me know. My scalp has been so itchy, it's crazy. There are very limited slots left, so I hesitate even mentioning it, but I feel like the most that I've been asked is by Scorpio, so I'm like, I can't just not mention it, you know. So just hit me up, email me through the website, and we'll try to figure it out. And you can see my schedule. I still have to update some of the days moving into August and September, but if it's open on the schedule, I will make it work for you. Okay. I love you guys. I will see you in September.